Hello, dear girls. Today we are going to discuss how the radio buttons can be used in a window form. Most of the time, when you want to have options, we want to include the radio button. This is the radio button. So, whenever we want to include some kind of options for selection, then we will go for the radio button. Say for example, I'm going to have, let me say I have the participation to be given, right? Okay, so you want to give something like this in your window screen. You want to give the event selection. Let me increase the size of the font. I'm going to increase the size of the font to somewhere around 12. Okay. Okay, so now what I'm going to do, I'm going to add the radio buttons. Say I have radio button 1 and I'm going to have radio button 2, radio button 3, then I have radio button 4. Okay, fine. 4 radio buttons. Sorry, not the fifth one. I'm going to have only 4 buttons here. Fine. Now let us assume that I'm going to move everything here. Okay, now it is centralized. Yeah, now let us change the name of the radio buttons. What actually I want is, I want these 2 radio buttons for the single event and these 2 radio buttons for the group event, let us assume, right? So the students can opt for event 1 or they can opt for event 2 if they are participating in the single events, or if they want to have the group events, they can either participate in this event or in this particular event. Okay, so let us assume that I'm going to change the name of these radio buttons. So let me call it as so they can either participate in the dance event or they can participate in the music event, let us assume. Okay, and here also I am going to have dance, which actually I meant here to be the group dance, and this is also going to be group music. Okay, so let us add some table labels here. So this is for single event, this is single event, and I'm going to add one more label. Yeah, have it here, call it as group event. Nice, great. So now when you run this program, let us push this somewhere here. Okay, and music also, let me push it here. Let me push it here. Fine now. So select everything, move it in the center. Good. Now, when you run this program, what actually I supposed to have is, in the single event, student can select either dance or music. The same way for group event, they can select dance or music. So let us try running this program and see what happens here. I run this program. Yeah, This is how it comes. And you can see, you can select dance or you can select music. Here when I click, this particular thing automatically got deselected. When I click here, so out of these four, any one you can opt. Actually what we want, I want to opt for any one of this in the single event, and I want to opt for any. So these two radio buttons I want to be in one group, and these two radio buttons I want to have it in another group. But that is not happening here. You can see that is not happening here. Why? Because now all these four optional buttons or radio buttons are available in a single container, which is the window form. So since all these optional buttons are available in a single container, it considers all these four options for one particular selection. Now let us see how to overcome this. Actually, I want this to be in one container so that I can choose any one of these two. I want this particular thing in another container so that I can choose any one of these two. So let us see how it can be done. I close the running application. Now I come back to the form. What I'm going to do, you can see here in the toolbox, lots of containers are available. So in these containers, I have an option called group box. I have an option called group box. So what I do now, I'm going to select this group box, and these are the two optional buttons which I want to group together. So let me put it here, and I'm going to call this group box as single event. The same way, I go for another group box. I draw it here. I have grouped these two radio buttons in a group, and let me call it as group event. Fine. So now your application looks like this. Now let us run this application and see what happens. You can see here these two are coming here. I can choose music, dance, and when I choose here, it is not getting deselected. Previously it got deselected because all these four options were in a single group. Now what I have done, these two I have grouped together and these two I have grouped together, so I can choose like this. So here also I can choose music, here also I can choose music, or here you can choose dance and here you can go for group music, or here you can choose dance and here you can go for group music. Now you can see how optional buttons can be grouped and how it can be used for different selections. If you are simply adding the radio buttons in your form, the form becomes a single container. Form becomes a single container so that all the radio buttons becomes in one selection. It comes under one selection. So to overcome that, what we have to do, you can use the container tool, add the optional buttons in a group box so that only those optional buttons becomes one selection. So this is how we will be adding optional buttons in our application. Okay, so what I want, I recommend all my girls here, all my students, please try it in your machine, and if you have any doubts you can approach me at any time. Thank you.